Hare Krishna, and welcome everyone to our weekly discussion on Sri Ishopanishad. Last Sunday, we spent some time discussing about the glorification of the instructions given by Sri Prahlad Maharaj on the occasion of Parents' Day of Lord Narasimha on 22nd. We celebrated Narasimha Chaturdashi on 22nd of May earlier this week. And for that, we went through some of the instructions given by Sri Prahlad Maharaj to different in the seventh canto of Srimad Bhagavatam to his father, to his friends, and then ultimately some prayers we went through, which he offered to Narasimhadev, which we studied, tried studying for our own purification. So prior to that, 12th May was a glorification of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj that was arranged in Juhu Temple, ISKCON Juhu Temple on 12th May. So that Sunday we will discuss anything. And prior to that, 5th May is when that was the Dwadashi day when Maharaj left this material world and went back to the spiritual world to enter the spiritual Nitya Leela that's going on and join Prabhupada there. All other is God brothers and God sisters in the service of Srila Prabhupada, service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we briefly discussed we discussed sixth mantra, and there was this break of about 15 days, and we are now resuming our discussion on the Ishwara with the seventh mantra. So let's take a quick look at what Ishwara is offering us overall, and then we jump into the seventh mantra today. So Ishopanishad has about 18 verses. We've seen this slide earlier. We'll just run through it very quickly. It's broken into a few sections. The first section is invocation to verse 3, where the instruction is to live in harmony with Ishwara. If your everything is owned and controlled by Ishwara, and you are given your quota, whatever you deserve, that has been given to you. Whatever kind of skills that you deserve, not desire, those are already been given to you. So you should be happy with what you have, and not encroach somebody else's quota, knowing fully to whom it belongs to Ishvara. So everything that we possess, our body, our mind, our intelligence, our facilities, our opulence, our skills, talent, abilities, everything is coming from Ishvara. So we should live in harmony with Ishvara by using those things, by whatever we have got from Ishvara, by utilizing it in the correct way, so that we go closer to Ishvara. We live in harmony with Ishvara, not in conflict with Ishvara. So those are the instructions. And then the mantra 2 says that if you live like this, wish to live like this, then you can think of living for 100 years. Otherwise, more you live, more sinful activities that you commit, and more difficult your path going back to Ishvara becomes. So the desirous of 100 years of life, those not everybody should desire to live for 100 years, because then it can make our own task more difficult than what it is right now. So we should rather live in harmony with Ishvara, and then we can think or we can desire to live for more than 100 years. Mantra 4 to 8, we are in the second section of Sri Ishopanishad. It talks about Ishvara. If I want to follow Ishvara's instructions, if I want to live in harmony with Ishvara, I should know more about that Ishvara. I should understand that Ishvara properly. So, how to understand that Ishvara? And then this section explains that Ishvara cannot be understood by our material means, material vision, material intelligence. We need spiritual vision, we need spiritual intelligence, and we need mercy from Ishvara to be able to understand, so that we can understand Ishvara. In our attempt to understand Ishvara, we need mercy from Ishvara. 9 to 11, right and wrong Vidya. what is Vidya, what is Avidya, that has been discussed in the mantra 9 to 11, very beautiful section. 12 to 14, right and wrong upasana. If we want to offer worship to Ishwara, what kind of worship we should do? And mantra 18, 15 till 18, those prayers to Ishwara to reveal himself. And we will study those in due course as we progress through the mission different sections. So we've studied, we're now in the second section of Ishwara, where we have already discussed, the second section comprises of verses from 4 to 8. The verse 4 and 5 talks about the understand Ishwara with spiritual vision. And Ishwara is inconceivable in normal vision and the normal consciousness. And we will look through those verses to understand why it is said like that. So there are a lot of contradictory statements appear in the scriptures, which makes it very difficult for us to understand what that Ishwara is, who this Ishwara is, what is his form, what is his nature, what are his activities, how he when the scripture says, when Ishwara says that he walks but does not walk, we need to know what does it really mean. If I say that I walk but I don't walk, it doesn't make sense. So at one level, the scripture, the Ishopanishad, is presenting us with a paradox. It's a mystery, and we need deeper understanding to reveal the real meaning out of that mystery, to make sense of that mystery. And that is what we discuss in the verse 4 and 5. 6 and 7 talks about spiritual vision. Now you can know Ishvara. The Ishvara is paradoxical. Ishvara is mysterious, and it's possible to know Ishvara when when Ishvara chooses to reveal himself, and we get spiritual vision to see Ishvara. Now, how do we cannot directly get spiritual vision. We are in the material bodies. All of us have material body, um, and we are used to see things in a material way. We see things, and we don't see. We have material vision and material consciousness, and we want to use everything for our sense gratification. That's our material intent, desire. So that's our normal state, and that has been our normal state for many lifetimes, maybe millions of lifetimes. Though we see a food, and then we feel it is tasty, and then we want to eat it for enjoying our tongue, for filling our belly. So we this is material vision, material consciousness, and the what happens at the end of it is you end up using it for material sense gratification only. However, the scripture advises us that there is a spiritual vision also. So we must develop a spiritual vision to see the things of this world materially. For example, Sri Prabhupada, the flatbed trucks in San Francisco. Sri Prabhupada established New York Temple, and then from there he sent some devotees to San Francisco, Mukunda Prabhu and Shyam Sundar Prabhu, Malati Bhagaji. All of them went to San Francisco, and there Prabhupada was in his room once, and looking out of the window, and then some flatbed trucks were passing. Flatbed trucks means a truck which has a platform, a big platform on which typically containers are carried. The shipping containers which are loaded onto the ships, those are carried. So for the ship, container has a rectangle shape proper and made up of heavy metal, and the trucks also needed to have a flat bed, flat surface. Now Prabhupada saw those trucks, and the truck is material. Truck are not meant to be used; those are not manufactured with a spiritual vision. But Prabhupada had spiritual vision. Means Prabhupada see things, see the material things, and think of how it can be engaged in Krishna's service. So Prabhupada thought of setting up Jagannath Baladev Subhadra on those flatbed trucks on that deck, and using those trucks for Rath Yatra. So we see, so it's a material thing that what we are seeing, but we have a vision which is spiritual vision. So our, so this Ishopanishad asks us, beg to us, request us to develop such spiritual vision of seeing things in the material world. Not only things, people also, the living entities also. So we are in this section where we are taught how to develop such vision to see things in a spiritual way. The mantra 8 then use the same spiritual vision, tell us that how to use the same spiritual vision to be directed towards Ishwara to help us understand him better. We'll get into the verses, go through the quickly verses. The fourth and the fifth verses, we spoke about the paradox and the mystery. So the fixed in the abode, but personality of Godhead is swifter than mind. So if you are fixed in one place, how can you swift? How can you become swifter than mind? Mind speed of mind is great. How can then you move swiftly? If you are not, if you're fixed at one place, how can you be moving at the same time? And he can overcome all running. The powerful demigod cannot approach him. Although in one place, again, Prabhupada repeats, although in one place, he is able to control those who control rain and air. Now, rain and air happens everywhere. Air is everywhere, rain is everywhere. So, rain god, sun god, Indra, they are everywhere, and they are being controlled by this Ishwara, even though he does not go everywhere. Now, these gods are everywhere, but Ishwara sitting at one place is able to control everyone. Mantra 5, takes this revelation of a mystery deeper. He then, when Mantra 5 says that Lord walks, but he does not walk. He's far away, but yet he's far very near, and he's within everything and he's outside everything. It couldn't become more paradoxical if we say this, show this verse to any mundane materialistic man, then this is description of Ishwara's activities, then he will say it's foolish. It doesn't make sense, but we discuss in while discussing mantra 5 why it makes sense, and we discuss deity worship when we discuss about how God is far away and yet he is near. He is far away. Krishna exists in three forms. There are multiple ways in which God can reveal his existence, and Krishna is far away. Krishna manifest himself as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. And as Bhagwan, he is far away. Far away, he is in his abode, enjoying pastimes with his devotees. But he is yet very near. He is very near in form of a deity, because at the request of his devotees, he agrees to appear in the form of a deity, and he enables the living entities to engage in his loving devotional service, to offer service to him so that he can receive service. So he comes, it's like a majestic tall elephant choosing himself to sit down and offer his head to a small child so that the child can touch the head. Otherwise, it is impossible for a child to touch head of head of that magnanimous elephant. But when elephant himself decides to appear to go closer to the child, take his head closer to the child is able to do that. Now, by doing so, by sitting down, elephant has not lost any of his potency, any of his prowess. He still holds everything with him, but it is by his own will. He's agreeing to offer himself to his devotees. Similarly, that's what we discuss in the mantra 5. Mantra 6 talks about how to develop that spiritual vision, and mantra 7 is an extension of the same verse. So mantra 7 we will go through quickly. Yasmin Sarvani Bhutani. Basically, it's a continuation of verse 6. Verse 6, which talks about how to develop spiritual vision and how to see things in spiritual way, is what we'll be discussing the seventh verse. Yasmin Sarvani Bhutani Atmaiva Bhut Vijanataha Tatra Ko Moha Ka Ka Shoka Ko Moha Ko Shoka Ekatvam Anupashyataha. Yasmin Sarvani Bhutani. So those Sarvani Bhutani, Yasmin Sarvani Bhutani, Prabhupada translates, one who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks. Chittakana, the terminology used is Atma Chittakana, and which means the spiritual spark coming from Krishna, because Atma Chittakana is the extension of that, is basically coming from the same verse of Mamai Ansho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatan. The same terminology that Mamai Ansho, my Ansho, are all the living entities, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, and they will always be my Ansho. So the sparks are the spiritual sparks are Chittapana, which are coming from the original person, original personality of Godhead. They are in quality one with the Lord. They are in quality one with the Lord. Anybody who always see all living entities as spiritual sparks, in quality one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be the illusion or lamentation for such a person, for him? This is the a beautiful verse, and we'll go through this in detail. The overview of the purport, very nice purport written by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So there is an overview. Let's take a look at the overview of the purport. In different paragraphs, it's yeah, the last line I'm still not able to see. Anyway, uh, so the purport has different paragraphs. So there is a first paragraph indicates the so the ekatvam anupashyataha, that is the theme of this verse. Ekatvam anupashyataha, the one who sees everything equally. Ekatvam anupashyataha. For him, one who always see all living entities as spiritual spark, ekatvam, in a spiritual way only. That such person has already developed a spiritual vision. He doesn't see body, he doesn't see male body, female body, animal body, bird body. He doesn't see the living. He sees doesn't see the Brahmana body or a Vaishya body or a Kshatriya body or a Shudra body. He doesn't see the color of the body, a learned body or an uneducated body, or American body or Japanese body, Chinese body. He has no distinction. He just see everyone as part and parcel of God, and everyone is a living entity. Every all living entities are separated part and parcel of Krishna. As part of parcel of Krishna, he look at them as spiritual sparks only. So this is a spiritual vision that the mantra is explaining, and so this spiritual vision is not an attempt to whitewash everything that we see as spiritual. We see so whatever we see in this world, we don't have to assume that everything is spiritual just because this mantra says so. Now the oneness, that is the spiritual oneness that is being talked about in this verse, there will be distinction made in this oneness and variety. There is oneness as well as there is a variety, and we'll be seeing the we'll be seeing the explanation to understand this distinction between the variety, whether it is all one or if there is a complete variety. There is a one variety in oneness or oneness in variety. What it is exactly. So this discussion will be ongoing in the rest of the session. So we'll need to pay little attention to understand, grab details of these terminologies. So Prabhupada explains oneness between energy and energetic. We'll discuss that, and Prabhupada use example of fire. Then there is oneness in quality but not in quantity. So, Prabhat, take example of drop of ocean and ocean. Oneness in interest and emotion, desires, etc., brings enjoyment. And the Prabhupada used the example of family nation. And separate interest, desires, etc., cause of shoka or moha, lamentation and illusion. So the final instruction, the closing remark is become one in interest with God. Align your interest with the interest of the God, and then that will give you eternal happiness. That will provide you with eternal happiness. So what is happening here? What is happening here is though the verse recommends oneness, see everything spiritually, it does not deny the variety. It does not de-recognize that existence of variety. Also, by saying it is one, oneness in a qualitative oneness, it's talked about qualitative oneness. Or even though the qualitative oneness is recommended, quantitative variation is also highlighted. Quantitative variation is also highlighted. The third part is oneness in interest. If we maintain a common interest, then everyone um, will benefit. It's like a family member, and all family members live with the same value system, same goals, work towards the same goal. Then there will be harmony in the family. There will be no conflict. However, if every family member has a different desire and different interest, then everyone will try to pull resources for utilizing it for their purpose, and there will always be conflict. Now, when the in such conflicting situation, because the resources for a family will always be limited, when the purpose is one, the whole family is able to live happily, utilizing all those resources for the same purpose. When the purposes are different, when the two brothers have different purpose, one wants to go to America and study, and for that he wants 1 crore rupees, and one wants to send his children to start business with his for his children, for which he may need another 2 crore rupees. And if the kitty is small, it's limited, it gets split, it gets, there will always be tension. Whose interest should be fulfilled, and whose interest is more critical. Uh, and so there is no harmony. There will be no harmony. There will be no happiness, no enjoyment in the family. And then the Prabhupada gives example of family and a nation. When the nation, typically in the cricket match, the whole nation unites behind a cricket team, or in a war like a situation, the whole nation supports our army or armed forces to fight war against our enemy nation. So there the goals, all, even though people have variety, North Indians don't like South Indians, and the same with the case with between West, people living in West and East, and so on and so forth. There are so many diversities we have in the country, and there are so many different likes and dislikes people possess, and about each other. But when such situation arises, their interests become one. That our nation should maintain its freedom. We should undergo. We should be conquered by enemy forces. And with that one purpose, one interest, everyone unites and stand behind their armed forces to fight the enemy nation. So when that kind of a situation happens, when there's a oneness in interest, there is a harmony and peace and enjoyment in the family and the nation. Separate interests, however, become cause of lamentation and illusion. So, complete realization of Ekatvam has two aspects. We are discussing, we are going deeper into the concept of, there can be a question that if I have to see everyone as a spiritual spark, as part and parcel of Krishna, should I not distinguish between the people? For example, a thief or murderer is also having spark, part and parcel of Krishna, is also part and parcel of Krishna. And a Padma Shri, Padma Vibhushan, who has been awarded Paramvir Chakra, whatever, big great honor by the nation, they are also part and parcel of Krishna. Should I see them equally? Is that what the verse is recommending? How do we understand and how do we apply this learning in our practical life? So so that's why let's go deeper into this concept of ekatvam anupashyati. That complete realization of ekatvam or the oneness has two aspects. We've already discussed, highlighted it was there was a there is a quality aspect and a quantity aspect. So realizing our oneness in quality, that is important. Now, this is what the verse recommends about. What the verse translation, if you see, one who sees everyone, one in quality with the Ishwara, and that such person is properly seer, is the correct seer. So that is what the verse recommends. That see everyone as part and parcel of God. Now, as qualitatively similar to God, qualitatively same as God, and that's what the verse recommends. That's what our um, discussion is. Now, here the statement is qualitative. If we realize our oneness in quality with the absolute truth or God, it brings detachment. The question is why? Why should it bring detachment? What it exactly mean to be qualitatively one with Ishwara? What are the qualities of Ishwara that makes him unique or different than all the other living entities? And when we understand that we are also like him, why it brings detachment? Why it should be bring detachment? You can raise hands, and we'll be happy to discuss it very for a brief time. Yes, no problem. Raju.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, qualitative oneness with Krishna means that we are also like Krishna, Satchidananda. So Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha, he is all knowledgeable, Satchid Ananda, he is eternity, bliss and knowledge. So just like that, we as souls are full of eternity, knowledge and bliss. So that's qualitative oneness with Krishna, and it brings detachment because when we know that when we understand that we are qualitatively one with Krishna, then we know that we belong to Krishna, and our happiness lies within him. Our happiness lies where Krishna is, and that's why we try to make efforts to go towards Krishna, and that's how we are attracted towards Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji, and Vikram, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Very beautiful. Vikas Kauri, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. So as Mataji was mentioning that Satchidanand quality is there in soul and in the Lord as well. So I remember recollect from one of the session of His Holiness Swami Bhagwan Kishore Swami Maharaj, when he says that detachment means Vairagya is the Vishesh Rag towards Krishna. We need not to develop the detachment from materialistic thing, but we need to develop the attachment towards Krishna. And this aspect, that oneness in quality, that Satchidanand we have got as the quality of soul, then ultimately we know that he is quantitatively more and more in these qualities, and ultimately our goal is to rush towards him, or to that our the qualities of Satchidanand can be only enhanced if we try to rush towards Krishna, or try to uh, devote our lifetime energy towards Krishna, in serving Krishna. Then our these qualities will become more and more, and we can relish, we can realize our oneness more and more with the absolute truth. So ultimately that brings the special attachment towards Krishna, and materialistic attachment is just a side effect of that, that will anyway come. So that was my understanding in this proceeding. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. We'll talk about that aspect a little bit later. Let's take a second question. That realizing our smallness in quantity brings humility in us. What does it mean first, and then why? Realizing our smallness in quantity brings humility in us. And the question that what is the meaning of this statement? smallness in quantity. What does that really mean? And why it brings humility in us? Or why it is expected to bring humility in us? Yes, Nupur Mataji and Vikas Prabhuji in that order.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. So Prabhuji, Krishna being the supreme personality of Godhead, he has these Sachidananda qualities in full potency, and in Krishna it keeps increasing. That's the nature of Krishna. That's because he is God. But we being conditioned souls, we have limitations. We being part and parcels of Krishna, we have limitations in those in quantity. So we are qualitatively one with Krishna, but quantitatively Krishna is infinite qualities, and it keeps on increasing. And but we are not like him. And when we understand this, then we know that how great Krishna is, and how small we are in front of him. Oh yes, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Vikas Prabhuji. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. So, as Prabhuji, Lord Krishna mentions in 10 chapter 41 verse of Bhagavad Gita that Mam Tejo Ansh Sambhava, that a whole lot of manifestations are just a spark of the splendor, and I am that splendor. Means from me is everything is emanating. Again, he says in 10:8 that I am Sarvasya Prabhu Mata Sarvam Pravartate. So, actually, Lord Krishna through his opulences he tries to show that how much big he is that big that he is beyond our conception. And ultimately when the shastra shows us the biggest picture of him through his own words, and that too he says that these are some of my opulences, then ultimately it becomes like Lord Krishna is very very great, and at the same time when he is providing us everything and anything that is required in our material and spiritual life, then it shows his merciful nature as well. So here is our Supreme Father, who is the whole means who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who he is supremely merciful as well. So ultimately, by considering his those qualities, that brings kind of intention in the mind that ultimately here is my goal of life, that I need to serve him, and this attitude of service towards him actually brings the humility in the heart. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. And as also one of the disciple of Srila Prabhupada, His Grace Swadrik Prabhuji, he was mentioning on this part that I, me, and mine can only be broken if we try to see our senior Vaishnavas, senior devotees, that how they are actually endeavoring in serving Lord Krishna. And with the kind of humility that despite doing so much for Krishna, they are saying that they are not even Vaishnava.
Okay. Thank you so much. Sudhir Prabhuji. Yes, please go ahead.
That you have committed offense. And then ultimately I'm not a Vaishnava. I can forgive you, but don't do Vaishnava because that is not pleasing to Krishna. So ultimately, with those aspects being in the devotees and learning the instructions of Krishna through devotees, that brings actually the humility that shows that how much small we are, how much ground we need to cover here, and still there are so many examples in our path, our senior Vaishnavas, and shows us that how great Krishna is. So ultimately, that creates
Yeah.
humility in the heart. That is
Thanks.
my understanding.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Sudhir Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, what I understand is that from an individual's point of view, we always think it is always related to the knowledge on Krishna consciousness. So, without having this knowledge on Krishna consciousness, an individual may think himself, when he is a part of the society, as something or someone, and there he may think himself sometimes bigger than some other parts of the society. However, once one starts gaining knowledge about Krishna consciousness and knowing how big Krishna is, the more he gets deeper into that knowledge, the bigger is his conception about Krishna, and the way that size grows, he himself tends to become smaller and smaller and smaller in quantity. Then the person stands to know and gains enough humility to understand how small he is as compared to the Supreme Lord. So that is where I think this comparison is coming. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So the humility is grows in proportion with the knowledge that you gain. So more of the knowledge that you gain about Krishna through devotees, through devotional service, the more more humble you want to become, and the lesser the knowledge, the opposite is there. Now the opposite of
Yes.
humility is pride. Now,
Yes, Prabhuji. Absolutely. Thank you.
yeah. So knowing himself to be similar to God, it can also give rise to pride, because and then it makes us detached, but it can make us proud also. So in which form of spiritual practice this aspect is emphasized more, that oneness in quality, and second aspect is completely ignored, the smallness in quantity. If you choose one over other, if you focus only on one aspect, so for example, if you focus only on oneness in quality aspect, then what do you become?
Advaitvadi, Prabhuji.
Can you elaborate?
Yeah, then
Briefly.
yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavad Pranam. So ultimately, then we start thinking ourselves that actually we are the supreme Lord, when we are one in the quality of the generator. And ultimately, as the philosophy of Advaitvadis goes, that because the Maya is covering us, and once the curtain of Maya is unveiled, we come to know that we are God ourselves. And we need not to do anything we need not to serve others, because we are the God. And there is no position of gurus in our life, there is no position of deities in our life. Ultimately we are that one. I am Brahmasmi. They take it to that level, that I am that Parbrahm. I am that
Correct.
supreme soul, and I have found myself now. Now I need not to do anything. So
Okay.
that brings pride, actually.
That brings pride. Thank you so much. Sudeep Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sudeep Prabhuji, others also can think of
Hare
some
Krishna.
answers and can raise hand.
No,
Happy to listen to
Prabhuji,
others.
yeah, Prabhuji, I'm more or less, I was thinking in the same line because Prabhuji has already mentioned. So no, nothing further to mention on this. Hare
Okay.
Krishna.
Nupur Mataji, I saw your hand, so your
Yes,
hand was also
Prabhuji.
raised. Want to say something?
Yes, Prabhuji. Similar answer to His Grace Vikas Prabhuji's answer.
Okay. My second question now, none of these three can answer. Somebody else has to answer. Is if you focus, when we focus on the smallness in quantity, what do we become? What is the result of that? None of these three can answer. We have already answered. When we focus on the smallness in quantity, I think it was covered also in some of the answers that Nupur gave or the Vikas Prabhuji spoke earlier. Nagendra Prabhuji, happy to hear you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, in my thinking, I can say if there is smallness in quantity, then we can focus at one straightforward. Like we can focus directly to the Krishna rather than focusing on more and more quantity. Like we can't focus more quantity, so that if we focus on more quantity, then our devotional service towards Krishna is not going to be straightforward. So this is what I was thinking, sir.
Yeah, very nice, Soji. Thank you so much. Vaishnavi Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam. If we focus on smallness in quantity, we see that Krishna is supreme in all qualities than us. So we develop devotion, humility for him. He becomes worshipable because he is greater and supreme in qualities than us. Sorry, means in quantity. In quantity, he is supreme.
Okay, thank you so much. Very nice. Anybody else want to make a quick comment? Angarash Prabhuji, what do you think?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I think when we feel smaller in quantity in comparison to Lord Krishna, then we can inculcate the humility. because knowingly or unknowingly we doesn't know, matlab, we are under the ego that we know something or we excel in some field. When the sudden situations arises, then we come to know that we are ignorant enough in that situation. Knowingly we cannot know we are knowingly we cannot know that we are egoist or we are arrogant about some qualities, but there is something inside us in our consciousness that we draw comparison from the others in every situations. So there is always a comparison feeling. So we should know there is someone supreme from where these qualities are being derived. So we should feel grateful in every moment that whatever qualities we have, that is drawn from the Lord Krishna. In that way we can draw some humility, and that humility can lead us to progress in our path. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Chandra Pranam.
Thank you so much. Mayur, do you want to say something? Like unmuted? Maybe that was by mistake. I'll just mute you then. Yeah, let's progress. Let's proceed further. Thank you everyone for wonderful contributions. Very happy to hear all your comments. Very, very informative. Very enlightening. So thank you very much for that. So a lot of I think devotees got it. Have already explained this. That by realizing oneness in quality, we understand that I'm not material. I'm not Jada Tattva, I'm not this body, I'm spirit, soul. The fundamental teaching of Bhagavad Gita, the Dehinosmin Yatha Dehe, that become a sober person is not bewildered by the changes in the body. And even when the soul leaves one body and acquire another body, he is not bewildered because he understands that's his nature. By nature, he is eternal. He's acquiring one body after another body based on the desire and the karmic reactions that is what he's supposed to suffer or enjoy. So that knowledge actually makes us detached, right? Because we realize if we get that knowledge, if we understand that knowledge properly, we will develop detachment from the world, because we'll realize that there is a search for aliens. We see movies, science fictions being made where we see people come from other planet and into Earth, and then they they try to interact with the people on the Earth, and sometimes become a threat, sometimes become a friend. The real aliens are us. The real alien in this material world are the living entities. The spirit soul who has traveled from the spiritual world to the material world and is acquiring one body after another body is the real alien, because this soul is foreign in this material world. This material world is dead. Material world has is a temporary, whereas the spiritual spark is eternal, and the spiritual spark is also Sachin Ananda, just like his master, the Supreme Lord. But because of the forgetfulness, when we acquire body, because of our unwanted, unrestricted desires, we assume our body to be our real existence, and we forget our eternal nature. We think we become temporary, and but realizing our eternal nature, we actually will then seek happiness in uh, eternal things. Will not get delight in the temporary things. What are the temporary things? The temporary bodies around us, the body of our parents, body of our spouses, body of our children. Now these are our immediate sources of happiness, that we derive happiness by interacting with them. But they are temporary. They all of those living entities are in their respective bodies for a temporary period. They will have to give up these bodies, and what will happen to them? We will have no visibility. We will have no understanding. We will just, if one body goes away, when somebody leaves their body and goes to another body, we have no vision. We have no visibility to that. And we also forget, we don't care. Beyond a point, we feel sad after somebody leaves their body, we feel sad for a few days and then we move on. We find happiness in some other bodies. But this is seeking happiness at a bodily level. Why we do that? Because we have forgotten that we are eternal spiritual spark. And if we realize this truly, then we will stop seeking happiness at a bodily level. Means whatever we can enjoy with the body, we will stop seeking happiness at that level. So, and then what will attract our happiness is what is spiritual. What is spiritual? The Krishna is spiritual. And then we will seek happiness in the spiritual level only. Aham Brahmasmi can bring pride if it is not combined with the knowledge of quantity. What happens is realizing our subordination in quantity to the absolute truth brings humility, as everyone explained very beautifully, that we are Kana and the it's like ocean, ever increasing ocean like Krishna. And in front of him, we are like small particle. So that makes us immediately becomes humble because of the vastness of Krishna, because of the greatness of Krishna, because of the magnanimous nature of Krishna, magnanimity of Krishna, we immediately become humble. We just take a humble position very naturally. We become humble, and uh, that way we become conducive for performance of devotional service. In that humble mood, only we can become a devotee. On the impersonal path, we discussed this as a second follow-up question on both of those issues, that the impersonalist typically focus on the oneness of the quality, oneness in quality, and therefore Aham Brahmasmi is their slogan, and Naiti, Naiti, Naiti. They reject the material world, they reject the qualities, they reject the people, they reject this everything in this material world as temporary. As temporary means as the one who will not give them spiritual eternal joy, and for that they reject the whole world, and they live life in a very dry state. The true impersonalists, most of the impersonalists that we have today are a mixed bag, and most of them are actually performing sinful activities under the name of impersonalism as well. So this it's not perfect. Impersonalism is not practiced very properly in India as well, what to speak of in other parts of the world. So but a perfect impersonalist also, they become proud when they by realizing only the oneness in quality with the Supreme Lord. And that becomes the showstopper for their progress in bhakti going towards Krishna, because they end up thinking themselves as God. So Aham Brahmasmi can eventually become I am only God, and hence I need not worship anyone, I need not pay obeisances to the deities. I don't need deities. I don't need guru. And that kind of mentality one may create, and one may live life whimsically and fall down, deep into the ignorance, and continue on their journey, repeat in the repeated cycle of birth and death, indefinitely, practically. So that is extremely dangerous path to take. So even if they may seem like a spiritualist, they may talk about scriptures. We shouldn't assume everyone who is talking about scripture to be a perfect devotee. In fact, they may not even want to call themselves as a devotee, because they said, I am God, then whose devotee will I become? You should become my devotee. That kind of mentality will lead nowhere. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu focus on the second aspect, that is the smallness in quantity. The smallness in quantity makes us humble. Therefore, Mahaprabhu advises us to become humble and tolerant first. When you are small in quantity, you don't have capacity to demand a lot of things. That everything should be according to my wish, and then I will perform bhakti. It doesn't happen that way. And when things are not according to our plans, we feel unhappy, and that unhappiness has to be tolerated. Even in the performance of bhakti, even in the performance of devotional service, there is humility and tolerance, and both are required to be practiced without compromise, without any choice. And if somebody wish to progress on the path of bhakti, these two are unavoidable. They have to become humble with knowledge, as explained by Sudip Prabhuji, all, and you have to become tolerant, and that's what Mahaprabhu explained in the third verse. And after explaining this, he goes on to explain about the detachment. It's not that detachment, vairagya, Bhagavatam says that vairagya is a byproduct of bhakti. Vairagya and knowledge and vairagya are byproducts of bhakti. So by performing bhakti, by performing hearing and chanting, one knows more about the magnanimity of God, the greatness of God, the sweetness of God, and then one becomes humble and one fall in love with God, and that's why one is prepared to do anything for the God, and in that mood. When devotees perform devotional service, their attachment to Krishna leads to the detachment from the rest of the world. So na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmaneshwari bhavatad bhaktir ahetuki tumai. So I want ahetuki bhakti, O Lord Krishna, at your lotus feet. And by rejecting everything, now this rejection doesn't come automatically, it comes as a result of humility and tolerance. So gaining enough knowledge about Krishna, knowing that our smallness in front of Krishna, knowing that how insignificant we are, and still for such insignificant soul, Krishna, by how great and how sweet Krishna is, that out of his causeless mercy, out of his love for us, he is agreed to appear in front of me as Radharaj Viraj. He's agreed to appear in front of me as Radha Madhav. He's agreed to appear in front of me as Radha Shamsundar. So that when I go in front of them, I can pay obeisances. How otherwise I'm going to understand, and how otherwise I can ever become devotee of Lord Krishna? When I cannot see my form of Lord Krishna, beautiful form of Lord Krishna, without seeing that form, however, how otherwise am I supposed to become his devotee? So that devotion, the love, the loving sentiments, it helps when Krishna makes himself available, accessible in form of deity in front of us, and then the loving sentiment can grow very, very quickly and very easily. The bhakti becomes sulabha. So that is what Mahaprabhu explained, gave us. So by focusing on quantity, one one becomes humble, and knowledge of quality, one becomes detached from the material world, and that's how one progress in the spiritual path of devotional service. Now let's understand the concept of energy and energetic mode. We've been talking about this, but let's take this another example, beautiful example that Jiva Goswami has given in the Sandarbhas, and we'll try to use that. So a lot of many times the example of sun god is used to describe the Brahman Paramatma Bhagavan aspect of God. But Jiva Goswami used the same example to explain the energetic concept as well, and or the potencies of the Lord, the Antaranga Shakti, the Antaranga Shakti, Tatastha Shakti, and Bahiranga Shakti of God. And so that aspect we will try to understand using this example of sun god, which is very, very prominent example, but very beautifully explained by Jiva Goswami. So there is sun god. Sun god is like Krishna. For us, Krishna is like sun god. Sun god is like Krishna, the supreme God. Now, Krishna has, just like how sun has effulgence around him, Krishna also has effulgence. His body is effulgent, and there is a effulgence coming out of his body, and so that is called Brahma Jyoti in the spiritual sky. Just like how sun has a effulgence around the sun disk, which is extremely powerful, and manifest the potencies of the sun to the highest degree. What are the manifest potencies of the sun? Sun gives us heat, and sun gives us illumination. Na tad bhasayato suryo na shashanko na pavakaha. Uh, so the material planet, this galaxy, this solar system, this requires the sun for illumination. Krishna says, my planet is self-illuminated. It does not require sun for illumination. Sun is there so that I can perform daytime pastime. Moon is there so that I can perform nighttime pastimes. But they don't have role otherwise. We don't need them. The planet is self-illuminated. People are self-illuminated. So that is not the case with the material world. Material world without sun, we cannot imagine the existence of material world without sun. It is a deep dark place, but it will become more darker and more hellish planet. So sun is required for giving us light, and sun gives electricity, heat and light. The both are inseparable potencies of the sun. Now, heat and light, the illumination and heat, is manifested at the highest degree just around the sun disk. There is a sun disk, and around that the effulgence is very, very strong. Now that is like internal potency of Krishna. Krishna's internal potency is extremely close to him, and it's called internal potency, or it's also called as Antaranga Shakti. It's very close to Krishna, and therefore this potency can manifest Krishna's potencies to the highest degree. Just like the effulgence of sun around sun disk has the highest potency of heat and light. Another part is the sun rays. Now, the sun and sun rays, um, at no point of time we can, sun rays are the living entities. Sun and sun rays, they exist together always. You can't separate a sun ray, a ray of light coming from the sun with the sun. They are always together, and at no point of time we can say that when the sun existed and sun rays didn't existed, or when has that come, or when this particular sun ray has been born from the sun. So it's in its entirety, they exist together. Sun and sun rays are existing together always, and so are the Lord and the living entities. They exist together. The living sun ray is coming out of sun. Similarly, we are also coming out of sun. Sun ray is the one single small particle of sun which is coming out and going in the opposite direction. And similarly, we are also a particle, small particle of Krishna, and in our natural course, we are going in the opposite direction of Krishna. Just like a sun ray, when it reaches the earth, the more it comes closer to the earth, the weaker it becomes in its potency of heat and light. Its capacity to give heat and light becomes weaker and weaker as it comes closer and closer to the earth. And if it comes and if it lands on the earth, at times it gets lost also. So the away further the sun ray go from the sun, its potency reduces, and same is the case with the living entities. The further we go away from Krishna, further we go away from Krishna, further we go away from the instructions given by Krishna and Bhagavad Gita, our potency to manifest our symptoms of spiritual spark become weaker and weaker. What are our symptoms? As Nuga Mataji mentioned, Satchit Ananda, our knowledge of our knowledge that our true nature is Sat, that we are eternal spiritual spark. We are all knowledgeable, and our tendency is to become happy. All those three potencies become weaker and weaker as we go away from Krishna. So the opposite manifest. We become fearful of our existence. Because then we think of ourselves in the ignorant stage. When we get covered by ignorance, we believe that we are our body, and this body can get destroyed any time, and then we live in fear. We believe that we have no knowledge, and therefore we become frustrated, or we run behind knowledge, to take knowledge of this material world, and then we become proud when we get one degree after another degree after another degree, and those who don't have degrees, call them fools and rascals. So we become, we don't have knowledge, we don't have spiritual knowledge, and we don't become realize also about that. And then we search for happiness. We don't know that in connection with Krishna, we are always feeling the happiness, the spiritual happiness. But when we are disconnected from Krishna, we have to search for happiness. When we are connected with Krishna, we are always happy. That's why. That's why the Radharaj Biharaji temple is called Vaikuntha. People come there and forget all their worries. So they feel happiness. They see everyone moving with happy faces. They people genuinely feel happy. That's why so many people, lakhs and lakhs people, come to the temple every day to forget about their worries, and at least for a temporary period become happy, become peaceful, become free from anxiety. But we, in our true nature, we actually should be in that stage all the time, because we are Satchid Ananda at our own level. But when we go away from Krishna, further we go away from Krishna, weaker this sentiment becomes, weaker this knowledge becomes. And when it gets completely covered, we just forget Krishna. And in that stage, we try to search happiness in sex. We try to search happiness in listening to the music, watching movies, watching television, watching sports, or doing some kind of stunts, or climbing mountains, doing some daredevil stunts, and going shopping. People try to become happy in various ways, very stupid ways. They can simply become happy by chanting Krishna's name with love and devotion. But having become, as they go away from Krishna, they become more forgetful about their own real nature, and that's why becomes the reason for their illusion and shoka, that what we'll discuss shortly. The third aspect is the reflection of sun in river and pot, or river or a pot of water. There are water. There are few pots or buckets we can fill, and we can keep them in sun. And the sun's reflection in those buckets or those pots is the external potency. If you understand external potency of sun. Now, external potency of Krishna is the material world. Material world, even though it is coming from Krishna, the Krishna is the source of the same material world. Its capacity to give heat and light, that is its capacity to manifest Satchid Ananda, is extremely weaker, extremely limited. Why? Because it is a reflection. It is a reflection of Krishna, and so it is called Bahiranga Shakti, or external potency. So we have Antaranga Shakti, we have Tatastha Shakti, and we have Bahiranga Shakti. Tatastha, why? Because Tatastha is caught up in between these two, the Antaranga and the Bahiranga, and it has tendency to go towards one of these. So it can go either towards Bahiranga Shakti. Most of the time in a natural course, it will go towards the Bahiranga Shakti. It will try to find happiness in the material world by doing sensual activity, by enjoying bodily senses, and it will have forgetfulness, complete forgetfulness about its own divine eternal nature. It will have no knowledge about Krishna consciousness. So that therefore it will run behind the knowledge to be gained in the material world and feel proud about it. So this is our natural attraction towards Bahiranga Shakti. That's why we have chosen to come from the spiritual world in the material world for this reason only. Therefore, we are naturally attracted to the Bahiranga Shakti. But by knowledge, by practice, by devotional service, by devotee association, we can also go towards internal potency of the Lord, which is Antaranga Shakti, which is going closer to the Krishna, because Bahiranga Shakti and Krishna are very close to each other. And so if we are in a proper knowledge, we can come under the influence of the Antaranga Shakti as well. So gopis, it is stated in the Rasa dance, before the Rasa dance begins, both Lord Krishna and gopis surrender themselves to the Yoga Maya. Yoga Maya, they surrender themselves to the Yoga Maya. Why? Because both of them need to forget about their original identities, so that they can perform Rasa dance pastime and enjoy and fulfill each other's desires. So if Krishna is going to always remember that he is Supreme God, and he is Atmanam. He doesn't need anybody else for becoming happy. He is not going to feel the need to go and dance with the gopis to become happy. So he has to forget about his Supreme Lord's position, and then only he can act like a lover boy for the gopis. And gopis, on the other hand, they also need to come under the control of Yogamaya, Antaranga Shakti, so that they can also forget that Krishna is supreme personality of Godhead. Otherwise, how will they have a loving fights with Krishna? How will they argue with Krishna? How will they make love with Krishna? How they can fall in love with Krishna? Because if Krishna is supreme Lord, you will pay obeisances to Krishna, and that does not give pleasure to Krishna at always. So this gives more pleasure to Krishna. The fights between lovers, the that has given more pleasure to Krishna than the offering of the Vedic hymns and the Vedic prayers and Vedic verses with all the opulences. That doesn't give so much pleasure to Krishna. So, for both of for fulfilling both of their desires, they both surrender to Antaranga Shakti or Yoga Maya Samavritam, so that the pastime can happen, the pastime can take place. So that is the position of the Antaranga Shakti, the Tatastha Shakti, the living entities, and the Bahiranga Shakti. We'll move further. The all three, we just conclude on this part that all three radiance, rays, and reflection are coming from sun, and all of them are energies of the sun. However, they don't manifest potency of the sun in some way. Antaranga Shakti is conscious and can manifest potency to the highest degree. We discussed that. Sun rays coming from sun god becomes weaker and weaker as they go further and further. And we spoke with that example of how we get covered by influence of Maya. As we come closer to the Maya, we become more forgetful about our original nature. Then the Jada Tattva, matter, is like a reflection of God, and it does not manifest the potency of the God in the same way as the Antarama Shakti or even the Tatastha Shakti can. So that's why we say that Rasoham Moksa Kaunteya, in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we say that Krishna says, I am the tasted water. Does it mean that, and he elaborately gives Vibhuti Yoga in the 10th chapter also, he talks about various manifestation of his divine potency. Everything is manifested by his divine potency, and he says, amongst I'm the tasted water. Now, we don't worship water in our altar. We don't perform wherever we see water, we don't perform arti of water. We don't show dhoop and agarbatti to water. Why? Because it's coming from Krishna, and we should know that it is Krishna's energy, but it is its ability to manifest the show mercy, offer mercy is limited, but that is there in the deity. That's why we offer deity is Krishna himself, and therefore we offer we don't offer obeisances to the mountains. We can, of course, if we go to Vrindavan Dham, we pay obeisances to the Dham. Dham is all alive. Dham is not Jada Tattva. Ganga Maya, we go and offer obeisances to Ganga Maya and all holy rivers, because they are manifestations of Krishna himself. They are living entities. Rivers are living beings, and therefore we go and pay obeisances to them. But in general, the Jada Tattva per se, we don't worship them, Jada Tattva, as we would worship a deity. We'll look at the purport by Srila Prabhupada. The living entities are qualitatively one, where Prabhupada has covered more or less the same points Prabhupada has covered. So we've discussed many of those points. So we'll quickly go through the purports, and we'll conclude today's session by question and answer. The living entities are qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord, just as the spark of fire is qualitatively one with the fire. Yet spark, again, the qualitative oneness is the ability. What does fire signifies? Fire gives heat and light, and a spark also has capacity to give heat and light. However, because of the small quantity, its capacity to give heat and light is very, very small, very, very limited as compared to the whole fire. So that's how we understand it. Yet sparks are not fire as far as the quantity is concerned. And for the quantity of heat and light present in the spark is not equal to that of fire. Since there is no difference in the energy and energetic, there is in one sense oneness. Although from an the analytical point of view, the heat and light are different from fire. There is no meaning to the word fire without heat and light. We'll read again. Although from analytical point of view, heat and light are different from fire. When we try to analyze, we can think of heat and light as independently of fire as well. Now, because those elements exist as independent element as well. There's heat and there's light and there is fire, but there is no meaning to the word fire without heat and light, because it implies wherever there is a fire, it implies that there will be heat and light. But heat and light can exist independently also without fire. So therefore, they are separate, they are different, yet they are same at the same time. They are different from fire. There is no meaning, but there is no meaning to the word fire without heat and light. So in synthesis, therefore, they are same as well. So they are different as well as they are same. So in this mantra, word ekatvam anupashyataha indicates that one should see the unity of all living entities from the viewpoint of the revealed scriptures. The individual sparks of the supreme whole, the Lord, possesses almost 80% of the known qualities of the whole, but they do not but they are not quantitatively equal to the Supreme Lord. These qualities are present in minute quantity for the living entity, but a minute part and parcel of the Supreme Whole. Example is a salt present in a drop of ocean, and the entire ocean, though quality-wise same, quantity-wise vastly different. If individual living beings were equal to the Supreme Lord, then both qualitatively and quantitatively, if we were to assume that living entities are and God are equal in not only in quality but also in quantity, then Prabhupada said that then living entities would not have fallen under the influence of Maya, material energy. Then there is no question of his being under the influence of the material energy. But in the previous mantra, it was mentioned that nobody, not even powerful demigods, can surpass Supreme God, because in quantity they are smaller than the Supreme God, and hence they are always under the control of Maya. Supreme God is above the rule of. We heard yesterday's class from Shantaram Prabhuji. He explained that Devi Esha Gunamani Mama Maya Durata. He quoted two verses from Bhagavad Gita 7.14 and 9.10, where Lord says that Devi Esha Gunamani Mama Maya Durataya. But when you surrender to me, but one who surrenders to me, Maya Metam Tarantite. Anybody who surrenders to me, Maya Metam Tarantite can happen for him. He can cross over, swim over the ocean of Maya. And another was the whole material Prakriti works under the influence of Krishna, under the supervision of Krishna. Mayadhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Characharam. So therefore, Prabhupada writes further that therefore the ekatvam does not mean that a living being is equal in all respect to the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada again is clarifying, or is removing doubt of the impersonalism, who thinks they can become God. Their biggest illusion is that they think they will become God. And they are God, rather. People are sometimes, we have these t-shirts which have various slogans, and one of the slogan was we've seen is that somebody wrote on their t-shirt that I stopped searching for God when I realize I'm myself the God. I stopped my search for God when I realized that I am the God. I am that God. So this is the biggest, this is the last, this is the biggest illusion that one can live in. And because of the smallness in quantity, even if one realizes qualitative oneness, because of the smallness in quantity, one can never become equal to or even greater than God. Not even demigod, not even Brahma, not even Indra, not even Lord Shiva can become equal to or greater than God. Nobody. Natna parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. Krishna says that nobody can be equal to or greater than me. Sarvasya prabhu bhakta sarvam pravartate. That everything has been emanated from me. Everyone has come about by me. The 14th chapter Krishna says that uh, Sarva Yonishu Kantaya Murtayam Sambhava and Aham Bija Pratapita. That I am the seed giving father to all the living entities. Even demigods are living entities. Even Brahmaji is a living entity. So what to speak of anybody else claiming himself to be God? And that is the problem with these godmen who claim themselves to be the God, claim themselves to be the incarnation of God. This is the problem. They may have at times they don't even realize the qualitative oneness of God. They have no knowledge of God. But even if one assumes that they've realized the qualitative oneness, they forget about the quantitative one smallness. They forget about the quantitative quantity, or they hide this. They conceal, they hide it from the others so that they can focus only on what suits their what suits their purpose. So Prabhupada writes further that it does, however, indicate that in a broader sense, there is one interest. So Prabhupada says that therefore Ekatvam does not mean that living being is equal in all respect to the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada has established this point, but Prabhupada brings about another point saying that the Ekatvam can still be there. There is a variety, but Ekatvam can still be there if we have one interest. And we took example of in the broader sense, when there is one interest, and we took two situations. One is cricket match. For example, India is playing Pakistan. There is one interest. Everyone wants India to win. Then similarly, if there is a war-like situation with any country, there is one interest. The whole nation come behind, forgetting all their differences and varieties, their quarrels. They all come together and say that, okay, let's fight this enemy as one nation. And then that's how they so Prabhupada writes that same point, that it does, however, indicate that in a broader sense there is one interest. Just as in a family, the interest of all members is one, in a nation, the national interest is one, although there are many different individual citizens. So there is a variety. There's no we're not de-recognizing that variety, but at an interest level, at an ambition level, if they all can be united, brought together under one purpose, then such nation can be very happy, can live very peacefully. Since the living entities are all members of the same supreme family, their interest and that of the supreme being are non-different. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.5, all living beings are emanations from the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all of them belongs to the family of the Supreme Lord, and there is no clash of interest. So, interest of Supreme Lord is to bring everyone back to Godhead. All the souls wandering in the material world, Krishna is not happy about it. So Krishna's interest, Krishna's desire is for all these souls to return to the spiritual world. And same is the if we have the same interest, that we also develop a desire to go back to the spiritual world, then there is an alignment in our purpose and Krishna's purpose. Krishna says that in the 10.10 that Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tvam yena mam upayantite. Now, yena mam upayantite means by which they can come to me. Now, this is purpose of Krishna. This is the goal with which Krishna is working. That living entities, they can come back to me, by which they can come to me. And how can that happen? Dadami buddhi yogam tvam. I will give them, I'm ready to give them additional intelligence to understand me. Understand me means in the 4.9 Krishna has already stated that Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yo Vetti Tattvataha. You understand my Janma and my activities Tattvataha, then Tattva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Maniti So Arjuna. And then you will not take birth again, Krishna. Now, that is what is Krishna implying that by I will give you intelligence to for what? To understand my birth and my activities in Tattva. And when you do that, you will not take birth again. Why? Because then you will surrender unto me. Then you will do Manmana Bhavaman Bhakta. Then you will do Saradharman Parityajya. And that is what we are supposed to do when we realize who is the Supreme Lord, who is our real Master. And Yomam Evam Asam Mudho Janati Purushottamam Asa Sarva Vida Bhajati Mam Sarva Bhavena Bhavata. They know who is the Uttam Purusha. When they know who is that Uttam Purusha, Sa Sarva Vida Bhajati Mam Sarva Bhavena, with all their emotions, all their hearts, all their resources, all their conditionings, by bringing in everything, they will worship me. They will sarva vida bhajati mam sarva bhavena. A devotee holds nothing back. A devotee holds nothing back, and nothing holds a devotee back. What it means is a devotee, it's just like the mother Ganga. When she flows to the ocean, she doesn't hold anything back. She wants to give entire water to the ocean. She wants to bring whatever she possesses. She wants to give it everything to the ocean. Similarly, devotees when they are practicing devotional service, they don't want to hold anything back for themselves. They want to use BMW formula. Shandyodam Prabhuji yesterday said that body, mind, and wealth. When body cannot be offered, at least mind is offered. When body and mind both can't be offered, whatever we earn by engaging in these two things, whatever we earn that, we offer that to Krishna. So by applying, so devotees don't hold anything back. They give 100% themselves, 100% to Krishna. They devote themselves 100% to the service of Krishna. And nothing holds a devotee back. Just like Mother Ganga, when she flows from mountain to the ocean, it's not that her path is all nice and she just flows. There are many obstacles. There are many mountains. There are many roadblocks that she will have to overcome, and then she either keeps turning. That's why we see rivers keep turning and twisting. They go sometime up, they go sometime down, and they turn left, turn right. But somehow or anyhow, they find their way to go to the ocean. Similarly, devotees, nothing, no roadblocks, no problems in the material life can hold a devotee back. Devotee will perform devotional service even when they are not well, even when they are not well physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, something happening bad, they will continue with their devotional service irrespective of all difficulties and all challenges that they will undergo. They will just assume those to be the outcome of their own karma, and they will continue to take greater and greater shelter of Krishna. That is why we say that nothing can hold a devotee back. Prahlad Maharaj, in our example, we saw that nothing was able to not even create a doubt in his mind that whether or not he should take name of Vishnu. He was so fearless in front of death, in front of all attempts to kill him. He was fearless. He was seeing everything, but he was completely fearless in performance of devotional service in his in his own way. He was remembering Krishna constantly. He was thinking about Krishna constantly. So he could not be killed by many means that those demons deployed. So a devotee holds nothing back, and nothing can hold a devotee back. And that's why the living entities are engaged, they're meant to be. So that's how they perform the devotional service. Prabhupada writes out another beautiful point that spiritual entities are meant for enjoyment, as stated in the Vedanta Sutra 1.1.12, Anandamaya Bhasyati, Bhasya. So by nature and constitution, every living being, including the Supreme Lord, and each of his part and parcel is meant for eternal enjoyment. The living beings who are encaged in the material tabernacle are constantly seeking enjoyment, but they are seeking it on the wrong platform. So as the sun ray go away from the sun, more it becomes forgetful about its potency to give light and heat. Similarly, a living entity go away from Krishna. The further it goes away from Krishna, more it gets covered by Maya, and then it simply forgets its eternal nature, its eternal blissful and all knowledge nature, and therefore it seek all these three things in material sense enjoyment in the material world. So that's what Prabhupada is writing. So apart from the material platform is the spiritual platform, where the Supreme Being enjoy himself with these innumerable associates. Now, this spiritual platform is available to us, and this bridge, this world, material world, is like a bridge to cross over to that spiritual world, go back to the spiritual world. But while we are in this material world also, as long as we are able to maintain our contact with the Supreme Lord in form of deity, in form of his name, in form of his form, in form of his prasad, in form of his leela, in form of his katha, and by some way or any way or some or the any way, uh, if we are able to maintain our contact with the Supreme Lord, we can feel the same experience. We can feel the same spiritual happiness which we otherwise will enjoy in the spiritual world. We can enjoy that same spiritual happiness while we are in the material world also. And that is where Mahaprabhu explains in the first verse of Chaitanya Shikshashtakam, where Anandam Ambudhi Vardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadam. That ananda, the nature of that ananda is like that of an ocean like happiness. Not only limited ocean. Our oceans don't grow. This is like ever growing ocean. Now, it's not that ocean grows once a year. Ocean grows at every step that you take in perform devotional service. Every time you perform devotional service, the ocean size of that ocean grows. So there is no limit to the happiness that what we can experience in the material world, as long as we remain connected with Krishna. Prabhupada writes further, on that platform, there is no trace of material qualities, and therefore that platform is called Nirguna. Now, Nirguna is also a term used rampantly by the impersonalists. And so Nirguna, they said, now God is Nirguna because he is above the modes of material nature. The gunas, the sattva, raja, tamo guna are applicable to all those who are under the control of Maya. And Lord is the proprietor of that Maya. So he is Nirguna in that sense. But that doesn't mean he is Nirguna in qualities. He's ocean abode of all qualities. And all the qualities, as Amaraj Prabhu was mentioning, that all qualities that we can think of, they all come from Krishna. They exist in Krishna in its fullest capacity. And in a minute quantity, they are being given to us by his mercy. So that's his Nirguna state. Here in the material world, there is always a clash between different individual beings, because here the proper center of enjoyment is missed. The real center of enjoyment is Supreme Lord, who is the center of sublime and spiritual rasadans. Now, Prabhupada is saying that if our interests are separate, if our desires are separate, if we are not able to we get united in one under one purpose, then all of us will work to fulfill our own individual purpose, and then that will lead to clashes between individuals, because the resources will always be limited, and then everyone will try to want larger share of same resources for fulfillment of their purpose. So if the purpose is one, everything can be deployed happily and peacefully. But if purposes are many, Bahushakha hi anantascha buddhayo vyavasayanam. When there are Bahushakha hi anantascha, then there will always be clashes, and then the performance of devotion service with single-minded focus cannot take place. Therefore, devotees are often told to do few things, but do them properly. Look after your family. That's your primary duty. Take care of your devotional service, spiritual side. That's your primary goal for which human beings exist. Take care of them. Second is take care of your family. That is your immediate, the varnashram duty. And do something for the purpose of your living. That's it. There's three things one has to do. Nothing else is required. Do something so that you can maintain your body and soul together. You can take care of your family and engage them in devotional service, and also contribute to the mission of fulfilling the mission of Lord Krishna. So the third aspect is for the purpose of serving Krishna, for the purpose of only for the purpose of taking care of first two aspects, that is devotional service and family maintenance. The third aspect is not for sense enjoyment. And so we just need to do these three things, and we need to do them properly. So whatever is required to be done for these three things only should be done, and that's the other things we should not do. And the other what all is included in the other things? Who is going to win 2024 election is part of that other thing, because we are not a reporter. We don't work like a reporter. We don't have to. We should know who is coming in the power, and we should generally be aware of what's happening in the world, but we shouldn't become expert commentators on all the matters. Who is going to win IPL trophy? Who is going to win the World Cup? Who is going to win the next Wimbledon, and so on and so forth. So where the stock market in the United States is going, downwards or upwards, what is happening in South Asia countries, what is going to happen in Australian stock market when it opens, what is going to be the rate of gold 5 months down the line. All those knowledge, all these pieces of knowledge are like decorations of dead body and useless, because none of them will take you closer to the Krishna. So all of those are the other things which we ideally shouldn't be engaged in. We should take care of our spiritual side. We should take care of our family as per our varnashram duty, and we should perform some activity in order to earn our living and to take care of our first two needs. That's it. And whatever education we have to take in order to take this, do this whole thing. That is to take care of our earn sufficient living to take care of our family and take care of our own spiritual life. Here in the material world, we spoke about that. So that is the highest platform of spiritual interest. And as soon as one realizes this perfect form of oneness, there can be no question of clashes. A godless civilization on the other side, Prabhupada writes, gives the contrast as well. The godless civilization arises from illusion, and the result of such civilization is lamentation. A godless civilization such as that sponsored by modern politicians is always full of anxieties, because it may be crushed at any moment. That is the law of nature. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7.14, no one but those who surrender to at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord can surpass the stringent laws of nature. Thus, if we wish to get rid of all sorts of illusion and anxiety and create unity out of all diverse interests, we must bring God into all our activities. The Prabhupada writes for the very beautiful purport. The results of our activities must be used to serve the interest of the Lord and not for any other purpose. So we spoke about first thing is devotional service, second is taking care of family as per Varnashram, third is making our living. And the result of Prabhupada writes here that the result of our activities must be used to serve the interest of the Lord and not for any other purpose. The Supreme Atma or Paramatma alone maintains all the individuals, minute beings. For the Supreme Lord wants to derive pleasure out of their affection, just like Father extends himself through his children and maintains them in order to derive pleasure. If the children obey the Father's will, Family affairs will run smoothly if one interest and pleasant, uh, with one interest and a pleasing atmosphere. If the contrast, it will have a, if there are many interests and it will be unpleasing atmosphere, it will lead to unpleasing uh, atmosphere. The family will not function smoothly. The same situation is transcendentally arranged in the absolute family of the Parabrahman or the Supreme Spirit. Neither the Lord nor the living entities are impersonal. Such transcendental personalities are full of transcendental bliss, knowledge, and life eternal. That is the real position of spiritual existence. And as soon as one is fully cognizant of this transcendental position, he at once surrender into the lotus feet of the Supreme Being, Sri Krishna. Same 15.19 was earlier I quoted that Yomameva masam mudho janati purushottama sa sarva vida bhajati mam sarva bhagavata. Very clearly Krishna is saying that they start worshipping me with all their hearts and all their resources. But such a Mahatma or great soul is very rarely seen because such transcendental realization is achieved only after many, many births. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanaman Nam Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. The 7.19 Krishna says this that so it's a very rarely attained. So Mahatma Sudurlabha. Mahatma is calling that Mahatma is a great soul, but he's very rare because it takes one of many births, many lifetime for one to come to this conclusion that Vasudevam Sarvamiti, that surrendering to Krishna and worshipping Krishna is everything. Everything else is secondary or is not critical, not important. And but that stage one has to realize that stage, and that stage by Prabhupada's mercy we can attain, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy we can attain in one lifetime. We do not have to wait for many births. And Prabhupada confirmed this in multiple purports of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, that all this can be done in one lifetime. We just need to give one lifetime for the service of Krishna, not for, don't use it for sense gratification anymore. Do it whatever is required to the extent absolutely necessary, but otherwise you need not engage or do or remain entangled in the sense gratification and then forget about Krishna. It's Maharaj used to say that it's a spiritual suicide to overly engage in material sense gratification activities is a spiritual suicide, because you are killing your soul by doing this. You are killing the soul by covering it, by bringing more coverings on that soul, so that more and more it forgets about its original potencies of Satchit Ananda, and then it's not able to perform devotional service as one go deeper and deeper into the sense gratification. Prabhupada writes that once it is attained, however, there is no longer any illusion or lamentation or the miseries of the material existence of birth and death, which are all experienced in our present life. That is the information we get from Mantra Seva. Why there is no existence of birth and death? Because we attain Krishna. When we perform devotional service at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna with all our heart, all our mind, body, and our resources, we will go back to Krishna in one lifetime. We will not then wait for many births. And when we go back to Krishna, then we don't have to take birth again in the material world. Brahma Bhunar Lokar Punara Vartino Arjuna Mamapete Kanteya Punarjanmana Vidyate. If one surrenders to me, if one attains me, then one does not have to take birth again in this material world. And Krishna says 9.3 that Aprapyamma nivartante mrityu samsara vartmani. If you're not able to attain me, then you are forced to return into the material world where there is mrityu samsara, where there is repeated death and repeated birth. We'll summarize. The developing spiritual vision is a continuous work in progress. It's not a one-day activity. That today I have spiritual vision, from now onwards I will always see things spiritually. It is dynamic. The more we take ourselves under the influence of Maya, more we will become forgetful of the spiritual vision. And the more we will get connected with Krishna, we will make this sharper and improve our spiritual vision. But it depends on which direction we are moving. So that's why we are called Tatastha Shakti. We can go in either directions. We can go towards Antarama Shakti, we can go towards Lord, or we can go towards Maya. So whichever way we direction we move, accordingly accordingly effects that we witness on our spiritual life. But with the knowledge from the scriptures, that's why we should be reading scriptures daily, because we daily expose ourselves to the influence of Maya, and hence daily we should expose ourselves also to the influence of Krishna, and that influence comes from scriptures. Those instructions come from scriptures. So in order to maintain balance, as long we cannot not expose ourselves to Maya, because Maya is everywhere. We are in her domain. This is her area. This is her territory. So we cannot not see Maya, but we should also not leave Krishna. As long as we are here in her territory, we should never leave the feet of Krishna, never leave the lotus feet of Krishna, never leave the lotus feet of devotees who are also connected with Krishna. By our connection with them, by their continuous motivation for performing devotional service to us, by their continuous instructions to us to remain connected with Krishna. That is how we will be staying connected with Krishna. That is how we are expected to float in this ocean. Otherwise, we are in no time we'll just get drowned in this ocean of material nuisance. So, this knowledge from scriptures can get manifested through daily reading, through daily hearing, and through daily conversing with the devotees who are connected with Krishna, who are having the same knowledge, and they are passing on the same knowledge in parampara to us. So, with our agenda, interest, and desires aligned with that of Supreme Lord Krishna, that by which they can come to me, and we should also have same desires by which we can go to Krishna. How we can go to Krishna? Now, then our desires are aligned. There is alignment in our desire. What we want and what Krishna want is one and the same. Then we can function effectively. Just like when the whole nation can function effectively if it is driven by one purpose, especially in the war time, or especially in cricket time, important cricket match time. So the whole nation comes behind the players or the army, armed forces, and encourage them, support them, so that forgetting all their internal clashes, so similarly we have to align our interest with Krishna's interest, align our desire with Krishna's desire. Krishna is desiring us to go back to him. Krishna does not want this soul to wander more in this material world, trying to chew the chewed already. It's like chewing the chewed. Mara says that chewing the chewed, punash punash charata charananam. जो पहले ही चबा चुके हैं उसी को वापस चबाने की कोशिश कर करके हम थकते नहीं है. But Krishna is, by his merciful nature, he is feeling pity on us. He wants us to come back to him. And so that is his desire. If we align our desire to him with his desire, then our actions can get better coordinated. Then we will not do anything which will work contrary, which will give a contrary effect to our desire. Our desire is to go back to Krishna. Then everything that we will do will help us in that fulfilling that desire to go back to Krishna. So then, with that conviction, with that knowledge, we will be able to eliminate all other activities which will prevent us from going back to Krishna. Because the stronger the desire to go back to Krishna becomes, more our surrender, more our capacity to negate, say no to the different proposals from Maya becomes. Stronger the desire to go back to Krishna, more is our capacity to say no to nonsense activities proposed by Maya. And by that discrimination, only we can tarashati, we can float over this material ocean. If, however, we maintain our own agenda, our own desires, separate that from God, then it will cause us illusion. Even if we become successful, we will become illusion. Why illusion? Because we'll be forgetting our true nature. We'll be forgetting our Satchid Ananda nature, and we'll be searching for Satchid Ananda. We'll try to will develop better and better medicines to become to live longer, but we have forgotten that we are eternal anyway by nature. So why you are putting in so much effort to live longer? You're looking younger and longer, live longer and look younger. All of that comes from the forgetfulness that we are eternal soul, eternal beings, and now eternal being had no age. So there's no question of using anti-aging creams to look younger. There's no question of investing heavily in the maintenance in the medical science to develop new drugs to save our life so that we can try and live for 100 years and beyond. Because so this is illusion. This the forgetfulness of our real nature causes illusion. And that illusion gets frustrated because no matter how hard you try not to die, no matter how much progress you will make medically, you will die. A day will come when you will die in front of, surrounded by doctors, in the best of the hospitals, with all best of the facilities, because the cure and the life is determined by Krishna. And that frustration of getting defeated at the hand of Krishna will lead to lamentation. That leads to shoka. So one is illusion. We create illusion, we live in illusion for ourselves. And when that illusion is broken, we face frustration, and lamentation leads to shoka or lamentation. And that makes our life miserable. Which intelligent man or woman then will not act as per the instructions of Ishwara? Which intelligent man will not want to act as per the instructions of Ishwara? So it's a rhetoric question, so it doesn't require an answer, which means all intelligent men will want to act as per the instructions of Ishwara. They will want to live life according to the instructions of Ishwara. Those instructions are non-different than instructions of Bhagavad Gita. And that way, one can live life happily, and at the end of our life, we can go back to Krishna and attain Krishna at the end of our life. That way we can fulfill the purpose of taking human life, human form of life. So we'll talk about the Japa morning Japa session and the evening reading sessions. I request you all to join these wherever you get time, or daily you should try and join this, but as much as possible, do try to chant with devotees. Unless you happen to be visiting temple and chanting with devotees there, you should be joining these sessions and chanting with devotees. If sometimes you feel the loud sound is loud enough not to, and you get disturbed while in your own japa, you can uh, reduce the volume and still chant, but do chant with devotees. It has completely different effect. It will bring discipline into you as well, if nothing else. And it will, by seeing so many devotees chanting in such a beautiful way, it's so much taste, so much love, so much affection for Krishna. Our desire to chant in the same way will also grow, and that will help us become better devotees. Same goes for reading of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita every evening, 8:30 to 9:15. Please do join this. And we'll wait for question answer. Thank you. So we'll see if there are any questions in the chat box. Feel free to unmute and ask your questions about what we discussed today, or in general anything.
Thank you very much. At times I feel that it becomes prototype, but the more and more kind of gratitude we can say towards your humble endeavor, towards your rather such wonderful endeavors that at times something out of the session penetrates to some extent, and by your mercy, by mercy of Srila Prabhupada and other devotees, may that penetration keep on happening and it touches deeply to the consciousness and your this wonderful endeavor can at least turn around our life from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness perspective, and your endeavors are actually trying to align our consciousness in that direction. And please remain merciful unto all of us that we can actually penetrate that kind of whatever kind of wall is there in at least mind kind of materialistic consciousness, which is bit by bit is getting maybe penetrated and will one day come to this conclusion that ultimately we need to actually align our agenda with the agenda of Lord in a wholehearted manner, and where our materialistic consciousness will be diminished to zero. So thank you very much for your these wonderful sessions and endeavors that is hitting
Thank you,
somewhere.
Thank you so much for your kind words and all those of senior devotees and Shri Prabhupada for their endeavors. They're just repeating what they've given us. And thank you so much, Jigna Madaji. I know you didn't have good health, but despite of your bad health, you could join and stay back to the session. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. So I don't see any other questions in the chat box. Let's conclude today's session.
Yeah,
And,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Just I want to say that the analogy which is being used, that the sun rays which is being coming to the earth from radiating from the sun and coming down to earth, as it is getting differed from the sun. So that analogy really I like so much, that really if we are getting away from the Krishna, so then automatically our the devotional things we are getting lost. So that analogy was really very wonderful to understand and to connect with the God.
Thank you so much, Chetan Prabhuji, for picking up that point. Yes, I thought of that as well while I was preparing, and I thought it beautifully explains the point. And we see it happening with us ourselves. Sometimes we get caught up with a lot of things, and momentarily, we just lose the steam to perform devotional service, get up in the morning, do japa, do basic things also. What to speak of those who have so far not been connected with Krishna. I mean, it's so natural for them to be, forgetting about their original nature and then searching the same in the wrong place. Prabhupada writes in the purport that you're searching for the same thing. You want to become eternal. You want to live eternally, and you're trying to find it in the medical science. You're trying to be happy. You're trying for that happiness in television, in whatever the different means. So just doing it, you are doing the right things at wrong places. That's how Prabhupada puts it very beautifully. Yes, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, it is just like that when a deer wanders in the whole jungle to find the kasturi, which actually resides in himself. So he wanders whole around the jungle. He goes on wondering that I want to find the kasturi, and basically that actually it is inside the deer itself. So that is the same thing is with our human beings also. Actually, God is within ourselves, but we are actually not finding Him with the ourself, and we are going and searching Him at some other places, and our enjoyment and our fulfillness, or you can say the joy and happiness, we are finding somewhere else instead of actually devoting towards the Sri Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So God is within ourselves, but which is very difficult to perceive God within
Right.
ourselves.
Right.
God is everywhere. That is also very difficult to perceive. But when the same God appears in form of a deity, then it is easier for us to connect, and that's
Right.
why the deity is not different than God, because it's like an elephant sitting down and bringing his head closer to the child, so that child can touch the elephant. So this is the concept of deity. We'll talk about deity worship per se separately, but the deity worship makes the devotion service easy, because concentrating on the Paramatma in the heart, even though theoretically it is knowable, understandable, but practically difficult. Concentrating on the Brahman realization of God, that is everywhere. Brahman Krishna is everywhere.
Right.
It's difficult to develop attraction towards that Brahman realization. It's like when halwa is cooked in home, the fragrance of halwa is spreaded in each corner of the world, in that home. But it's
Right.
difficult to difficult to see how beautiful, how tasty that halwa will be just by smelling the fragrance. Because we need
Correct.
fragrance, we need the sight, and then we need taste. All the three are engaged, and then we get complete realization of God. Similarly,
Correct.
the DT makes us easy for us to connect and perform devotional service. So if
Right.
DT is the same God, is like the same elephant who's very powerful, very tall, very magnanimous, but he, by his own sweet will, choose to sit down and bring his head towards the small child, so that child can touch the head, child can do something with the with that head. We can play on the sit on the back of that elephant or play with that elephant in that way. So that's
True.
how Lord does to us, and that's how the DT worship makes the performance of devotional service easy.
Correct.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Wonderful.
Dandavad.
So we'll end today's session. Thank you so much for staying back. We're at 1 o'clock. So there are no other questions, and so we'll continue with the next verse. Another beautiful verse coming up next Sunday, 8th verse. Please don't miss that session as well. And during the week, try and stay Krishna conscious as much as you can. Try and join morning japa session from 4:45 till 7:30. Try and join reading sessions from 8:30 to 9:15. Do your own japa in your own leisure time. Do your own reading, post realizations. Very happy to read those and give feedback on any questions as they can be. And try and stay as much Krishna conscious as possible until we meet next Sunday. Thank you so much, everyone. Jagannath Dalesh Rudran Maya ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you
Hare
so much,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Dandavat
Prabhuji,
pranam.
Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavad Pranam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.